and welcome. This summer season was so incredible that I decided to only watch good anime. Rent a Girlfriend Season 4 continues what is, according to the internet, the worst anime ever made. But guys, I'm in too deep on this one. So deep, in fact, that I'm currently falling into the Earth's core. I think I need help. Look, I've mentioned I'm a fan of this series, and I'm not going to hide it. I mean, I haven't so far, so why bother now? Rent a Girlfriend is a frustrating anime, though. I know it won't get any better. Last season was the best one yet, and Season 4 really wasn't that great if I'm going to put all bias I have about this show behind me. It's still an anime I greatly enjoy, not in spite of its flaws, but because of its flaws. I've willingly watched this show knowing it's not high quality entertainment, but it makes me feel better about my life decisions, and I'm okay with that. It's getting a B tier because it's probably the most accurate rating for it. There's plenty of worse anime, but also because I love tormenting all of you who don't like this show, so therefore it won't be the very bottom of this list. And right now, it's the highest ranked anime. You're all welcome. Alright, I'm not gonna beat around the bush any longer. Here's what I'm sure many of you were looking forward to. Dandadan Season 2, Call of the Night Season 2, My Dress Up Darling Season 2, and Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus. God tier, God tier, God tier, God tier. Not only are these four the best anime of the last decade, but also amongst the most entertaining, and their sequels give us exactly what we've been waiting for with each. Dandadan was one of my top 2 anime from last year, and I love everything about this anime and how much passion Science Saru puts into their works. And by the way, you're gonna hear me praise them again for the fall tier list too. I'm a manga reader, and even I'm impressed each week with this story, quality, and genuine progression with the 2 leads. Call of the Night is one of the most atmospheric anime out there. It's an anime you watch alone at night. I see people mention which anime worlds they'd want to live in, but for me, I'd say Call of the Night. I'm already a night owl, so give me a setting with modern plumbing and some vampire bros to chill with every night. Especially when the city is this beautiful. And Season 2 covers my favorite arc of the entire series. I love Anko, and seeing her get the spotlight for much of this season was exactly what I needed. My Dress Up Darling is one of those anime that will put a smile on your face no matter what. I know some might feel that this series focuses too much on just having the most charismatic main female lead, but Gojo deserves his praise too. He's supportive of Marin in her hobbies, and I love how this anime keeps progressing the theme of following what you love regardless of how others feel about it. Plus, this season is just animated beautifully. There isn't a dull moment here visually or creatively, and the game that's played in the middle of it felt so real I wanted to play it. And Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus, well, some of you may have seen my reactions to finally watching this series for the first time a few months ago. Yeah, my mistake. I didn't watch Bunny Girl Senpai when it first came out. But hey, now the series has progressed to focusing on Sakata's college life. If you haven't kept up with it recently, I do recommend rewatching it because there's a lot of characters and plot points here. But it all comes back to having one of the best male and female leads in anime history, especially when they're together. They're in such a positive, beautiful, and loving relationship. I'm going to be honest with you, none of these anime are going to be in my best anime of the year video because they're all from series that I've either praised before or series that everyone pretty much already loves. If you're not watching any of them, you're missing out. Simple as that, and any one of them could have been the best anime of the season and any other season, but having all 4 simultaneously airing for 3 months is just spoiling us all. Thank you to the wonderful people who have worked on and made these incredible anime. I wish you nothing but success. Detectives These Days Are Crazy is a new comedic detective anime where the MC was a formerly renowned detective in his youth, but now he's a depressed wage slave. Relatable. Until one day this skibidi goblin waltzes into his office and asks for a job, and you know what? She gets it. Is that how boomers did it back in the day? This whole anime is just a bunch of goofy shenanigans followed by even goofier shenanigans, and in the spirit of being a comedic anime, it doesn't really solve any actual mysteries. Most of the time it's a bunch of fourth wall breaks and leaning into the chaos brought about by this pretty great cast of characters. I especially love the episode where they try to solve a murder mystery when the murder never actually happened. That was pretty good. Overall, it's more of a second monitor anime at times, but when the comedy hits, it hits hard. Have you ever thought that amongst all your friends, you were the most breedable? If this describes you, then you should watch Dealing with Mikadono Sisters is a Breeze, a harem anime that dares make the MC the best girl. Actually, that's pretty much a selling point of this series. Yu suddenly starts living with 3 sisters, all of whom are tomboys, as this is a gender role reversal harem. And you know what? I think this is fantastic. Even though Yu doesn't actually seem too interested in dating the girls, the romance happens usually spurred on by the Mikadono sisters themselves, since Yu is just naturally so charming to them, and all he really wants is to have a family to call his own, and everything it does is for the sisters and their well-being. I've mentioned before that a great harem focuses on having the MC be the best character. After all, why else would so many people be interested in them? And I really got invested in this series. Genuinely one of the most heartwarming and sweetest shows you'll watch all year. A Couple of Cuckoos Season 2, on the other hand, is a harem anime that's not as great. And really, I might have myself to blame for having any major expectations because Season 1 was truly, and I mean truly, one of the anime ever made. Nagi is just trying to live his life until a couple of cuckoos up to no good cause so much chaos for him, and usually it's not even his fault. The way things are going with this series, I have a feeling that Nagi's future is going to end up looking like,
yes, dear.
and just in case it ends up being a true harem,
yes, dear.
I may be a Rent-A-Girlfriend fan, but I don't know if I can deal with multiple rom-coms pumping out season after season without anything really happening. Clevatess has got to be the biggest surprise of this season. It's this dark fantasy that has an art style very reminiscent of older fantasy anime. Like Record of Lodoss War, in the first episode is a double-length special episode too. And I love the way this anime looks, with how dark and brooding it is. So much of the world is mysterious, yet dangerous. This is a land where legends are forged in the wilds. World-ending threats are ever present, and at any point a battle, war, or hero can emerge. It's dark yet beautiful in its grit and terror. It isn't afraid to show gore. And Alicia is such a badass. She's one of the best new anime characters of the year. She may be immortal, but that doesn't mean the suffering she goes through time and time again is any less painful. Though admittedly, I do want to mention that this anime is set up like a dumb joke. Hey, a dark beast lord, multiple strong women, and a baby all walk into a bar. That kind of thing. Still though, if you love fantasy anime and want to see more dark fantasy in particular, don't miss out on this. Summer pockets carried over from the spring, and I still think this was a pretty well done anime. However, I do think it's a bit awkward in its pacing given how it's a visual novel adaptation that covers every major route. The second half I enjoy more than the first as it ended up becoming more focused, but I'll be honest, I think this anime would have been better if they just zeroed in on one route and stuck to it. All of the routes are pretty good and hit hard emotionally, but then the very next episode we reset to a neutral starting point, and those characters we spent several episodes building up aren't as important now. That's at least the feeling I get. Really solid anime, and I love the final arc, but it does take some getting used to. 2025 really felt like the year that Chinese animation started breaking out more into the mainstream, and we have 2 in particular to really thank for that: Lord of Mysteries and To Be Hero X. Now, there has been some criticism with Lord of Mysteries being hard to follow or being too long. I mean, each episode is on average longer than half an hour, but that might be because Lord of Mysteries has too good world building. There's so much here, there's so many moving parts, and it feels like everything has been fleshed out to the finest detail. However, during the summer, I realized something. You know what else is overly complex, but still enjoyable? Donkey Kong 64. Lord of Mysteries is the DK64 of anime.
Here's a coconut gun. Can fire in spurts. If he shoots ya, it's gonna hurt.
You can tell me that DK64 is an overbearing mess of a game that is weighted down by its own ambition, but I still enjoy the hell out of it. That's this series. Lord of Mysteries is a story about a man being isekai'd to Victorian England in order to find his golden bananas or something like that. Absolute god tier for world building, animation, and a sense of scale alone. And it helps that it's wildly entertaining in its own right too. And To Be Hero X is still a god tier. This is such a cool concept of focusing on many different heroes and telling their stories and seeing how they all come together like the end of a Tarantino film. I can't wait to see what lies ahead for both of these series, especially since they have some of the best animation of the summer, but I don't think I'd call it the best animated overall. That honor really should go to City the Animation. And look, let's face it, Kyoto Animation could have just made this show to flex on all of us peasants. The animation is so good and there's so much attention to detail that just blinking feels like you're missing out on something. Is there any wonder why they're a top dog in the animation industry? Kyoto Animation doesn't make anime too often, but when they do, it's an absolute treat. Let it be known that taking your time and perfecting your craft leads to wonderful outcomes, and I'm glad that Kyoto Animation is known for doing so, and for treating their employees like humans. I'm giving this an S tier, since the show overall has very short segments that range from hilarious to just okay. But overall, it's an absolute feast for the eyes. And this anime was so good that it made me willingly want to listen to Mambo number 5. Hell, one of the episodes just ends with making a YouTube poop of itself. Another episode is straight up just a musical. But it's not the only anime this summer that had a musical episode, as there's also new Panty Stocking with Garterbelt may just be the anime I had the most fun watching all year. And of course, it's a god tier. This is one of my most anticipated animes, since how often does a sequel come out 15 years after the original and not only kick just as much ass, but in some ways maybe even kick more ass? In Panty Stocking, nothing is out of the ordinary. Anything can and likely will happen, and not a drop of the boundless charm and energy of the original is lost here. Everything you could want in a series like this is present and in abundance. This sequel was so good it felt like only 5 minutes had passed since the diabolical cliffhanger of season 1. It's so vulgar and offensive that at times it can make South Park look tame by comparison. Now, I'm sure you're wondering which one of the Angel twins I prefer. Panty's basically the main character, the strongest force of personality, and oftentimes is what drives these stories. But Stocking is real cute. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm more of a Scanny guy myself. So it's great to see both Scanny and Esox getting more of the spotlight here. Hell, something that the sequel does well is focus on side characters and add a few new ones, including Gunsmith Bitch, who's just about tied for Yachio for being my favorite new waifu of 2025. Man, I could spend all day talking about how great this show is. You know what? I love the sequel so much, I'm putting it in God tier a second time. Once for each angel. And if this wasn't degenerate enough, may I introduce you to Nukitashi the Animation, which may just be the peakest thing I've ever seen. But guys, I really can't show this anime on YouTube. It's the most down bad and degenerate anime I've ever seen. Not even going to say one of. This makes gushing over magical girls look like squirting over magical girls. Why did I say that? You know this anime is good when the YouTube official upload of the OP censors half of it. There is a version of this anime broadcast that was audio only, and it was still probably too lewd. This is a kind of anime that gets banned in the UK, which is kind of funny all things considered because the plot revolves around a group of freedom fighters who don't want to have sex.
Hey guys, condoms, right?
Why don't you
Yeah, 2 tier lists in a row with a Scott the Woz reference. Shut up. And this anime takes place on, I'm pretty sure, the same island we hear about in the news a lot these days.
Yes, I was on the sex island, but only for the snorkeling.
Man, what's with all these visual novel adaptations on a summer island? Who even owns this place? I bet its name is
Harry Cox.
Chuhai Lips canned flavor of married women is... Guys, this is just porn. Like, I don't even have a joke. That's what it is. The entire show is less than 50 minutes. I watched it all in one sitting, and I don't even think I moved once. And look, I know you may think I'm nothing but a gooner from the last 2 anime I covered, but I'll be completely honest with you. I don't watch hentai. I read it, I'm not that virtuous, but watching them really isn't for me. I guess if you're into married women and alcoholism, then give it a watch since it's so short, easily the shortest anime I've covered in these tier lists. But there is one thing I found funny, and that is, I watched the English dub, and the main character is voiced by Sean Chiplock. You know, the same voice actor for Subaru Natsuki.
Wow, she's incredible with her tongue. Must be a Gyara thing, huh?
And get this, one episode he gets isekai'd after walking out of a convenience store and finds a beautiful elf. And he has returned by death. That couldn't have been a coincidence, but this anime is still bad. Witch Watch, on the other hand, is still really good. It continued from the spring season, and now we've built up the full cast with our merry band of guardians protecting Nico the Witch, the same witch they're watching. Amongst them are various fantastical goofballs, including an Oni, Tengu, Werewolf, Nekomimi, and Femboy. It's one of the funniest anime of the year and continues being a fun ride all the way through, S tier. But it's not the only amazing anime studio Byberry made this season, as we also have Uron Mirage. And man, I've been waiting for this show to come back. This arc is so peak. I know a lot of you might think the Phasies are too similar to the oozes they had to fight last season, but the payoff when you get to the final battle is so worth it. I know a lot of people were put off by Galaxy Vacation and how long it was, even though I think it's a top 5 arc. But trust me, this is where Uron Mirage really gets good. I just wish the series would finally show Zock's backstory, since they've been teasing it since the Mirage Castle arc, but haven't given it the time and attention it deserves. The manga is currently on hiatus, but this season will cover up to the arc that's currently ongoing, so the next season might be delayed until the author returns to this. Uron Mirage is also an absolute blast. S tier, Secrets of the Silent Witch. Heh, more like Bocchi the Warlock. The Shy Hero and the Assassin Princesses. Heh, more like Bocchi the Stunlocked. Bad Girl. Heh, more like Bocchi the Rock. These are anime where the main characters are the introvertist. Silent Witch is a gorgeous looking anime, and I'm glad a show that's as enjoyable as this one got to be as popular as it was. But I do feel like the trailers made it look a bit more fantastical than it ended up being. We don't actually get a whole lot of magic in this magic school anime. It comes off more like a typical high school drama. That is, if everyone at school is trying to kill each other. Fortunately, Monica just happens to be stronger than God. With Shy Hero and the Assassin Princesses, Toto has extreme social anxiety when it comes to women, but it just so happens that he's stronger than God. And for Bad Girl, Yutani has her own brand of social anxiety when it comes to the girl she's crushing on, but fortunately she's stronger than nothing. Silent Witch was a beautiful anime that made you want to see Monica succeed despite her anxiety, and overall, I'd give it a strong A tier. At times, borderline S tier. Shy Hero originally I thought was just dragging the pace along. Goa, Seal, and Anemone are much more the main character than Toto is, since he's usually off in the background. Fainted. But I like the concept of a harem show where the harem is actually trying to kill the MC. They aren't successful, but what surprised me about this show is how it went from a goofy harem comedy to something else by episode 10. Like, it got real good. I don't want to spoil what happened, but this is why I love watching so many anime each season. You get to find real hidden gems that go under the radar. And Bad Girl is decently fun enough too. Yu has a severe case of Notice Me Senpai. She's so pathetic and down bad for Atari that it ends up being quite charming on its own. The Water Magician is an isekai that opens up with a fantastic first episode. It sets the tone perfectly and showcases what could happen if you're isekai'd into your own slice of the world left alone for decades. And the adventure that follows is beautiful. I thought this anime would go the freerun route and follow the story of this journey through time, through the eyes of an immortal. And it's like that for the first 4 episodes or so, and then the MC is just gone. Sometimes I forgot which show I'm watching because he's just never there. There could be a major attack on the city, adventurers holding the front line and dropping like flies. Meanwhile, Rio is chatting up his elf girlfriend in the library, introducing her to the wonders of the Dewey Decimal System. I feel conflicted on this series. It's cool seeing Rio's legend status grow from the perspective of others, but at the same time, he's avoiding his own anime. It's not bad, it could be a lot better. It's the reverse of Shy Hero, where I felt that this one was stronger at the beginning than at the end. I do hope we get a second season, because I'm pretty sure there's a solid anime here, just might need better direction. Reborn as a vending machine, I now wander the dungeons. Season 2 is a perfectly decent anime in its own right. Now that we're in the second season, the luster of its absurd premise has mellowed out on me, but we're still left with a pretty fine anime on its own. It's got solid world building, great characters, entertaining enough, but I'm not going to talk about this anime anymore, because once again the OP is done by Bradio. Bradio is a god tier band, and I once managed to see them perform live in the front row. That was a religious experience. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life, and now that we have a 3rd season confirmed, all I'm thinking about is the next OP they make. Puniru is a kawaii slime. Season 2 is still an S tier anime, and this is probably the least popular anime I've covered in my tier list. The second season has barely 5,000 watchers on Mal. I've got more YouTube subscribers than that. Thank you all, by the way. This is an anime that's endlessly creative, wildly entertaining, and manages to deliver in the emotional moments too, despite how bizarre it is. This is the kind of anime I want more people to watch. I mean, look at this. Tsukasa Abe, the illustrator for Fragrant, drew Puniru and Kotaro too. That's a heck of an endorsement. Don't let the fact that this is a kids anime discourage you from watching. I guarantee you everyone could find something enjoyable about Puniru, but I do lament the fact that we don't have another auto cover for the ED like the first season, and the reason I bring it up is because I got to see Otto live this summer. Yeah, Otto is going into God tier right there with Bradio. Maybe one day I'll do a J-pop tier list. Kaiju No. 8 Season 2 is a continuation of an anime I rated pretty highly from 2024, and I didn't care for this season that much. Maybe it's due to the shortened runtime, but it fell flat for me. What I liked about the first season mostly revolved around the cast, especially Kafka, and Season 2 just takes things so seriously. Eventually the second season does pick back up and gets good, but then it ends on a wild cliffhanger, and we don't have an immediate announcement for a sequel like we did last time. This season wasn't terrible, but it was disappointing. And did anyone else think that the sound design was just off this season? The climactic moments seem to lack impact. Still a solid anime, but if we get a third season, then I hope it's just as good as the first. Ruri Rocks, on the other hand, was a great watch. It's a very simple anime. It's just these girls looking for minerals and other natural wonders out in the wilderness.
First we mine, then we mine, let's mine.
Hey, Ruri Rocks, more like Ruri Racks. This is another anime where Studio Bâan cooked. Though instead of literal femboys, it's about the boundless wonder and splendor of the natural world. How any given turn can lead to unforgettable discoveries. A tier! While I really enjoyed this anime, I do want to stress that I don't think it was that realistic. Anytime I ventured out into the outdoors looking for jiggies, I usually just skip Poison Ivy. Despite the lack of realism, it is truly beautiful. And also, isn't mining for ore just a real-life gacha game? Grand Blue Season 2 is just about the most brain-dead, stupid, trashy anime you can ask for. I love it. Summer had a good amount of high-profile sequels with long waits in between them. This isn't on the same level as Panty Stocking, of course, but man, seeing that Season 3 announcement immediately after the second season ended was like a light at the end of another light. On first glance, you might think that this is an anime about a bunch of goofballs getting drunkenly naked and partying disguised as a diving anime. And you'd be right! But there is a lot of heart here, despite how much the cast doesn't want you to think so. See You Tomorrow at the Food Court is about two friends, Wada and Yamamoto, who agree to meet for dinner at the food court of the mall Yamamoto works at. Wada, a once well-known theater director, dropped out of the New York scene to travel the world, while Yamamoto stuck around finding only mixed success as a playwright. And as they sit down to eat, Wada launches into a series of fantastic stories from her time away, and I'm just kidding guys, I was actually reading the synopsis for the movie My Dinner with Andre from RottenTomatoes.com. What I'll say is that this anime is about two girls having conversations regarding literally anything at the food court. It's like they recorded conversations between these two girls in real life and just made an anime about them. And I've got a good amount of female friends. Some of my best memories hanging out with them are just at the local Arby's or something for lunch and chatting for like 3 hours about nothing. There's a lot of enjoyment in that, and this anime is only 6 episodes long. Seriously, what have you got to lose in checking it out? There's no stakes here, it's as simple of a concept as you can get, and I loved it. S tier, fantastic. I'm tempted to watch it again already. Takopi's Original Sin is also only 6 episodes, but it's a much different story. In a previous video of mine about this series, I mentioned that I was considering not even including it on the tier list. It really isn't a show that I believe should be ranked amongst the others like how I normally do them. And part of the reason why is because I think this is an anime that really should be watched by everyone. It's about some very hard-hitting subjects, but ones that are real. There are too many people in this world who have suffered from bullying, abuse, or neglect. And even if you're someone who hasn't, it's important to empathize with others and understand what they might be going through. This isn't the kind of anime you watch for enjoyment. This is the anime you watch to make you think and reflect. And really, I can go over all the reasons why I think this is beyond a masterpiece work of art and storytelling. But all I really want to say is please watch Takopi's Original Sin. It's gonna hit you hard, but it's the kind of gut punch that we need from time to time. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity is a fantastic anime that I unfortunately haven't watched yet, because Netflix decided to wait 2 whole stinking months to broadcast this anime. Yeah, sorry about the incoming Netflix rant, because they do not care about anime. Their anime catalog is actually impressive, and sometimes they're broadcast at a normal release schedule like every other streaming service. Sometimes they're given a week delay though, and sometimes we get this. A series as beloved and celebrated as this one deserves to be handled better, but time and time again, Netflix refuses to properly market or support their anime IPs. And they can afford to do so because it's not like they're an anime-centered streaming service, so why would Netflix even bother doing the bare minimum to care? And I'm afraid that due to the success of this anime, which is a great thing mind you, Netflix is going to see this and delay other series for months on end for seemingly no good reason. No other streaming service does this, not Crunchyroll or HIDIVE or Amazon Prime, Hulu, HBO Max. They all broadcast their shows in tune to the rest of the world, which is what should be expected. And what's wild is that half of all Netflix watchers actually watch anime. Maybe Netflix is trying to bring back the 2000s because practices like these only encourage And look, I know it's hypocritical of me to delay this video because I wanted to catch up on summer anime since I watched a lot of them and fell behind, yet not watch this anime still. And if I'm only ranting about Netflix here, then it's even more insulting. So let me say this, since this anime started in September on Netflix, I will be covering it with the fall tier list. An anime like this that's truly special deserves my full attention, so stay tuned for me to give my actual opinions on this anime in the next tier list. And while I'm at it, Gachiakta, Togenanki, and Waterikun Something is About to Collapse will all be ranked in the next tier list. All 3 of these are carrying into the fall, but since this video is so late, I think it's fair if I just share my opinions about them later on. They have changed over time. Bâan, The Boundary of Adulthood, might not be too fitting for this tier list since it's not a full anime, but an 18-minute short film produced by Gigguk, the anime YouTuber. But I do want to cover this since I thought this was pretty special. On one hand, I have to commend Gigguk for not only fully funding this project and wanting to bring his own dream to reality, but on the other hand, the final product got me pretty good. Now, I've never moved away from my hometown, so the message didn't resonate with me on a personal level, but I do have many friends who have moved away, and I can only imagine how a short film like this could resonate with them, and it ended up resonating with me too. I genuinely hope that Gigguk and more YouTubers are able to produce their own anime as well. There's clearly a lot of passion being put into this, and it's worth being proud of. And I'm not just ranking it in S tier because I'm a Gigguk clone. I greatly enjoyed this short film, and my only criticism is the same that everyone else has had. I just wish there was more. There's a strong foundation here, and it'd be neat if Gigguk decides to return to this setting in the future. Also, if you're wondering, if I ever got the opportunity to make my own anime in the future, I guarantee you, I'd love to make a generic slop harem isekai, and I'd be damn proud to do so. Hey anime studios, my DMs are open. The Summer Hikaru Died is one of the best anime of the year, because it's an actual horror anime that's good. The last good horror anime we had was Dark Gathering 2 years ago, and fortunately, unlike the Uzumaki adaptation, my expectations were met and far exceeded. Like, is Cygames Pictures just gonna be one of the big boys from here on out? They're utterly killing it with their productions, this year in particular. But this is more than just a horror anime. It's a BL anime where the person Yoshiki cared about the most is dead. He's gone from this world, and what remains isn't Hikaru, but something beyond his understanding. Beyond Hikaru's understanding too. This anime actually manages to walk the line between ever-growing tension and then suddenly having more lighthearted moments to show you that they're still teens. They're trying to figure things out and understand one another as the show progresses, which is only made more difficult when one of them is an eldritch horror who might at any moment kill and eat you. And with the season as stacked as this one, this is a kind of anime that's going to be remembered for years to come. The kind of anime that makes you as excited for what happens next as much as it terrifies you. Now I know what you're thinking. All the previous anime have names that are too short. So thankfully, I was reincarnated as the 7th prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical abilities season 2. And look guys, this anime is still just so much fun. What if I told you that this femboy is stronger than God? I'm just surprised that not only did the studio choose to adapt this twice, but also, once again, go all out adapting it. It's such a goofy anime, one that's even better if you watch without thinking anything at all. And for what it's worth, I think this season actually had a really impressive villain to go along with it, which just makes the clashes between him and Lloyd even more entertaining when you just look at this. Like, what if I told you that this guy is gonna wipe the floor with him? I hope the studio continues and makes another 7 seasons of this. And the rest of this video are anime I covered with my recent isekai video. Starting with Apocalypse Bringer Mynoghra. World Conquest starts with the Civilization of Ruin, which is still a shorter title than 7th Prince. And I'll admit, I wasn't as big on this anime as the others I covered in that video. But I do like how not only they made the main characters evil, but actually commit some pretty evil things. But then again, it's all for since the goal of this series is to not just build up a civilization, but also to survive with it. Being evil limits who wants to work with you, especially when you consider the other evil forces. If you're a dark elf, would you be expected to work alongside some scary looking demons and Mr. Bones? They'd probably be better off forming their own bowling club. Turkey, Time to Strike has got to have one of the weirdest premises of any anime this year. None of the marketing of the series prepared any of us for what this would be about. I thought it was just going to be a wholesome slice of life cute girls doing bowling things anime, and instead the first episode they get isekai'd back to feudal Japan in the middle of a war, and have to avoid being murdered by killing people with bowling balls. My reaction to the first episode went something like this: hey guys, I want to join the bowling club.
Barack Obama is projected to be the next president.
And you know what? Guys, I loved this anime. All the way through. Just fantastic. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am fine with the wildest and weirdest stories out there, as long as they stick to it. Go all out. If you want an anime about a group of girls learning to become better friends and accept who they are through their love of bowling, friendship, and fighting back against evil feudal warlords, then go for it. This is an anime that made me laugh, cry, and had an extremely satisfying ending, all while being an anime original, so it was a wild ride blowing my expectations away each week. I really didn't expect anything that happened in this anime, and I'm more than happy with it. S tier, loved it, incredible, the whole thing. And finally, Uglymug Epicfighter, which I saved for last because just like Shigeru, I too was picked last when I was a kid for sports. And despite what you might think on a first glance, this anime is actually pretty good. The MC wants to get isekai due to his life falling apart since he's been outcast by society for something he never did. But as he meets other people in this isekai world, he learns how many lives he truly impacted for the better, how great of a person he really is. And he goes about this world relying on the power of friendship and being stronger than dog. Also, Shigeru is voiced by Junichi Suwabe, who voiced another isekai protagonist this year, the old guy who fights dragons with construction equipment. I wouldn't ever call this one of the best anime of the year, but it was still a pretty solid surprise from the summer, as it brings us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. And there's all the anime I watched this past summer. And wow, this was quite a season. It might just be the greatest season of anime ever. And honestly, it might have been too good. Like, I would have been okay with a lot of these shows spread out throughout the rest of the year. Spring was kind of lackluster, and this fall season is too, despite there being some hidden gems in each. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to sub Rascal for more Santa Claus. Also, the next video I'm working on is the ReZero Season 3 ranking. I know I said that in my last tier list, but I've decided I want to make a different video for my 3rd year anniversary in December, so I'd rather get this one out before then. That being said, it'll still take a little bit to get done, but I'll try not to wait months in between uploads again. Yeah, sorry about that. I just didn't want to break my edging streak, but it's November, so that doesn't matter anymore. Never stop watching anime, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.